Hi, everyone. I had an interview with the amazing Gina Mallison. She's the founder of the Mallison Method and one of my coaches. And yeah, have fun with this interview in which Gina explains how to live in your personal flow. Enjoy.
It's kind of like you do a restart or a reset. Naps are really great for like resetting. Hey, Gina, super welcome. I'm
Yeah.
so happy that you made the time to speak to me
Yes.
because I'm a part of your program, as you know, because I'm there daily. And you really inspire me by who you are, how you think about things, and you have so much knowledge, wisdom, and heart to share that I thought I just want to have like 20, 30 minutes of your time to ask you some questions.
Beautiful. Happy to. Excited to.
Nice. Okay. So, just a little introduction for the people that don't know you. So, Gina is my coach. She teaches me her method called the Mallison method. And in short, I can go into it for longer, but it's not what this is about now. So, in short, it helps. I can assist people in helping flow their energy in a unhampered and free way with this
Yes.
method. Am
Yes.
I saying that correctly?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
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 It allows energy movement and evolution. Yes. Yeah.
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 And perspective change and freedom.
Absolutely. Alignment, basically alignment with self. One of the ways I describe it is it takes a wobble that's going on in your life, like something that's got you all balled up, either consistently or just feeling really awful. And maybe it feels like you just keep repeating a not good feeling experience.
Yeah.
Um, in a session, we focus on that in a very deliberate way with the intention to move the energy that's there, allow a large release of resistance, which allows you to allow your vibration to rise to its natural state, alignment with
Yeah.
yourself. And then
Yeah.
you're guided to take a new look at that topic and you just see it with fresh eyes and you just like can literally feel, see, comprehend that old thought you had about that experience is just ridiculous kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so it just
Yeah.
really allows you to drop the
Yeah.
old story and really connect with the truth of what's there for you. So, and it
Yeah, and
feels
what I'll also do, so I can put in the description, like I'll put an interview that I did where I did a live calibration on someone,
yeah.
and you can also
Hmm.
send me a link of something where you explain the method if you
Sure.
want.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cool. So for now, I have a couple of questions for you. And this interview, I got inspired to ask you to do this because I was listening to a coaching call where I wasn't present. It was the afternoon call. And you guys were speaking about a couple of things, and I thought, I want to speak to you about this. And then this morning, another thing came up. So I have a couple of questions for you. We'll see how we go, like max
Yeah.
30 minutes.
Yeah.
So first, I want to start with authenticity. So for
Mm.
me, you are so yourself, so unapologetically yourself, which is I get goosebumps when I say it because it's so much fun to be around someone that is so themselves.
Yeah.
And it gives me permission, but actually it just inspires me to also be fully me more
Yeah.
and more and more.
Yeah. Yeah.
So were you always this authentic?
Well, it's so funny that you bring up that word. As soon as you said it, I was like, oh my gosh, all these thoughts rushed in. And one of the main thoughts, let me just see. So, Victoria-Monique and I have this mutual love and appreciation for channels in general, and very specifically a channel that I just came across this year. They go by Communion of Light, or Paul, channeled by Frank Butterfield. And I bring them up because literally within the last week or so,
of the conversations he's had with people that I tune into, somebody brought up the topic of authenticity. And it's funny because it was on the heels of, like you said, one of the discussions in my group's afternoon call was about authenticity. And I actually, although I was somewhat satisfied with the discussion, how it went in my call, when I heard Paul talk about the topic of authenticity, I really, really resonated with it a lot. And he said, it's impossible for anybody to not be authentic.
Ah,
And that might sound weird, but it's like you can be authentically nervous. You can be authentically masking something. Like you are you can't, like authentic is the vibrational stance that you're at. You can't help but express it, even though it might not be quote unquote how we look as authentic is like alignment with who I really am and flowing from that. That I think is what people think of the definition of authentic is alignment with self and flowing from that. But at any given time, sometimes I'm in alignment with who I really am, and sometimes I'm off, and when I'm off, I'm still being authentic in a way because I'm expressing the vibrational essence that I'm at. And so sometimes I think people use the term like authenticity as a way to like judge themselves, like I'm not being authentic, but you kind of are. But maybe like, so that's why usually I tend to not and really
use that
necessarily you use that word. It's like, it's more like, am I in alignment or not? And even if I'm not in alignment, nothing's gone wrong. It just doesn't feel great for me. And it generally doesn't feel great for other people in my presence when I'm flowing from an unaligned state. And nothing's ever gone wrong. But boy, do I really enjoy when I can align with myself and flow from that. That's super satisfying. So kind of to answer your question, throughout my life and throughout for anybody, like even throughout a day, sometimes you're in full alignment with yourself and your vortex and you're flowing from that, and sometimes you're not. I will say once I found the teachings of Abraham Hicks in 2015 and discovered these processes that have now evolved into what I call the Mallison method, like my work has been to find alignment with myself more and more and more frequently, more like solidly. So like any given week, I feel like I'm more and more in easier alignment with myself more often, more frequently, and more confidently, if that makes sense. So it's like, it's one of those things that'll never end, this journey to like being more and more aligned and in your flow and feeling really good and allowing magic to unfold. So that's my answer.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's, when you were speaking and when you were giving your perspective and Frank's perspective and Paul.
Yeah, Frank and Paul.
A lot of people.
Yes.
I was thinking of Bashar and how he's speaking about you can not trust, because when you don't trust, you trust that you're not trusting. So
exactly.
That's actually, it's the paradox. The power is in the paradox.
100,000,000%. That's exactly it. Or like, I love it too. I heard Bashar say that too about trust, but also confidence. And I remember when I first took my NLP course and was watching some videos from Richard Bandler, the creator of NLP. They were talking about like when people come to you and they say, I'm not confident and I've never been confident. It's like, bullshit. You're pretty confident right now that you've never been confident. You're confident that you're not confident. You're confident. It's that paradox, right? Like, I'm not authentic. Bullshit, you're being authentic right now.
Okay, and I love that. And it's also nice because then we can take the weight of the word authenticity, because it can also feel like, oh, heavy. Because there's so much.
There's judgment, there's measurement, there's comparison, and like, it just doesn't feel good. Nothing's gone wrong for you to be in that mode, but like, it just doesn't feel good necessarily to judge yourself or judge others. We're not being authentic. I'm not being authentic. And it's like, who cares?
So to end this topic, because I have two more.
Okay.
If I would come to you and I would say, Gina, can you please help me flow more from an aligned state? Because that's in fact what you said, right? It's
Mhm.
actually just flowing from an aligned state instead of a disaligned state, and nothing's gone wrong. It's just nicer to flow from an
Yeah, it
aligned
just
state.
feels better and tends to give
It
you
does.
a
It
yummier reflection.
does.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does. So how do I get there? What would you give me a tip, or what would you say to me? I would ask.
Yeah. So like I feel like what I would say to that is it's there's not like a blanket answer for that question. So like when I work with people specifically, like if somebody were to come to me with that, I would say, let's get more focused and tell me like what's the scenario that you feel like you're not flowing on. And I would allow that person to bring that topic up and we would focus on it. And I would take them through a Mallison method exercise to release resistance. And so in that place, they actually get to experience what the feeling place is, AKA the vibrational state of alignment for that scenario. And they'll find next time they run across it, it's much easier to just find themselves there because they don't have that trigger anymore, or the trigger is really softened and they have a space to be able to have that awareness to like take a breath and get back into alignment. But in terms of like a general answer, I mean, there's all sorts of ways for all sorts of different people to find an aligned place. Some people really enjoy meditation. Some people like to put on a really delicious song. Like all of a sudden it just popped in my head. It doesn't do the trick for me as much as it used to in the past, but like I remember Will Smith had the song Summertime. Oh my God, it came out for years. That would be a go-to song. I just put that on and it instantly gets me in this amazing aligned state and put me in front of anything or anybody after listening to that song and I'm aligned, right? And so really what I've found and discovered for myself and for clients that I've worked with over the years is being able to just be aware, more and more aware of your emotional state of being or your vibration, and being aware of what it feels like to be in alignment with yourself and out of alignment. And that awareness and discernment plus the intention of an acknowledgement of your desire to be in alignment more and more, just that alone is something that can help tremendously. For instance, if I notice I feel off or out of alignment, what I tend to do for myself, what works for me, is just back up from engaging outwardly in my reality and take a time out. And again, find what tool or technique or process or song in that moment can get me back to aligned state. Like one of the things I've discovered is there's urgency is an illusion. I have all the time in the world to, when I find myself in a misaligned state, to take a break from reality and return to myself. And that might sometimes take a day. If I'm really trolled up, I might just allow myself a whole day off from kind of living and engaging with life and taking a nap, taking a bubble bath, listening to channeled messages, and swimming in yummy goodness to get me back to an aligned state. I know what it feels like to feel aligned. I know what it feels like to be out of alignment. I've experienced for myself and for my clients, if I'm out of alignment and I just keep continuing to engage with life and fix things and figure it out and have conversations, what's out there just looks ickier and ickier and ickier. The more you try to fix something, the more it reflects back it's not fixed, right? And so I don't know if that makes sense. What was your question specifically? Yeah.
You answered it, and it makes total sense. It's what it boils down to is know who you are and how you feel.
Yes.
Because when you know who you are and what you respond to, what triggers you, and you know how alignment feels and what doesn't feel like, then you also know, okay, I want to get back there.
Yes, I want to get back there. Or like one of the things, a few quotes that always stand out for me is, one from Abraham is, there's nothing more important than your mood. Like make your mood your number one priority. It's like, I feel like for the genesis of your entire life experience is your vibration, aka your mood or your emotional state of being. And so when you make that your priority, then everything around you just tends to work better, less effort, more flow. And so that's been kind of my mantra for myself over the last number of years, is make my mood my number one priority, and just move on from there. And again, if I find myself in an off mood, there's literally an unlimited number of tools or ways to focus or things you can use to help you get back into alignment. Oh yeah, the other thing I was going to say is going back to this more recent channel I discovered this year. Frank Butterfield is the human who channels Paul, aka the Communion of Light. And one thing I like about his teachings is a lot of people that find him have found the teachings of Abraham Hicks first. And one thing I love about his teachings is he very clearly cleans up misconceptions that can occur for people that listen to the teachings of Abraham Hicks. He always refers to their teachings are accurate, but sometimes there's a misconception. And one of the common misconceptions is you have to be happy. You have to be happy. Like joy, 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 joy is the key. But sometimes when you find yourself wadded up in a lot of contrast and not feeling good, trying to get from a low vibration to happy and joy is just like, it's going to aggravate this. And so one thing I love about them is they really highlight, instead of focus on feeling good, it's feeling better, feeling better, feeling better. Yeah. And one of the things I love about it, and like the one of the focal points in the Mallison method, the technique I use to calibrate people, is feeling a little bit better, acknowledging that, feeling that, and then a little bit better, a little bit better. It's these little micro adjustments to your vibration. Sometimes there's big jumps within it, but usually within like a calibration, it's usually like 4 to 10 movements up the scale. And then once that tipping point is hit, then that person feels like the full relief into those feelings that are noted on the upper half of the emotional scale: calm, satisfaction, even joy, bliss, or ecstasy. Some people get to that in a calibration. But to get to that kind of clean and clear space of like alignment with self without those niggling thoughts or wobbles, it's a number of steps. That's why I say sometimes if I find myself really off, it's always give myself as much time as what's called for, but sometimes it can take a full day. Sometimes in the past, it could take me a number of days of really focusing on self. Again, bubble baths, massages, spa music in my ears, meditation. But the whole point is, for me, I found getting back to myself is the number one priority before I re-engage with the world. Yeah. I know some people hearing that were like, I don't have time to do that. I have a full-time job. And I'm like, it kind of goes back to another Abraham Hicks quote. You don't have time to not do that.
Yeah. And exactly, because as soon as you go there, then you make everything else more important than yourself. Mm-hmm. And then everything goes downhill from there. Like vibration, alignment, ourselves. It's just everyone that's into, because people that listen to my channel and find me that are into deliberate creation. So as a deliberate creator, that you create from your inner state of being.
Yes.
If you make outside more important than you, then you're going to create crappy stuff. And nothing's gone wrong. It's just information. But do you want that information all the time?
Yeah.
At one point, you're like, okay, I get the point. I'm going to use this information. Yeah, cool. So let's get into let's see where we go with this, or where you go with this, because I'm asking you. So I really loved the conversation that you guys had. I'm not going to name names because no one knows these people anyway. I love the conversation you guys had about checking with friends. Like if, let's say you're my best friend and I feel down and I come to you with a story like, oh, and my boyfriend did this and that. And so that was not the example that someone used, but you guys spoke about how it's actually, it might be a better idea not to go to someone to hash that all out. And do you remember what I'm referring to, the conversation, but also the topic probably, because this is something like when I heard you flow about this, I was like, yeah, it was such a, it felt so true. Like everything you said was so on point. And so what would you, or not what would you advise? The question is, yeah, what would you advise? People that are down and out. I'm like, oh, I feel so crap. I'm gonna call a friend to vent about this. Like
Yeah.
what would be another option? Let's say, because nothing's ever gone wrong, but like you have different things that you can choose to do.
Yeah.
What would be that?
It's really interesting. Again, it like there's no blanket advice to give on this, but what I want to offer is I'll just point out some things that might allow somebody to just kind of noodle on it and check it with their own experience.
Yeah.
So what can happen if you're upset about something, like so and so did something to me, and you're upset, it can be really, really tempting to want to call up a friend and complain about it. Because there can be some nice feeling that can happen sometimes when you just call a friend and vent. But the problem is when you're venting, you're affirming the unwanted. You're affirming the unwanted. You're focused on the unwanted. You're affirming it. You're saying it's true. You're giving all the story why your position is right and that person's an asshole. And what you're affirming, you're creating more of. If you don't want that to happen, by venting about it and communicating about it, you're actually creating the likelihood of experiencing more. And you're practicing the vibration of it. And the thing that sometimes causes people to go that route and like talk to a friend, especially a friend who's like, yeah, I get it. Like I had the same thing happen to me, is there can be in that moment a feeling of feeling like understood. And I remember you really like this quote. You actually, as sometimes as good as it feels to have that little like bling of feeling like understood, you really don't want somebody to understand and like validate the reason why you feel crappy. The reason why you feel crappy is not that condition. It's not the thing. It's your alignment. And there's no better proof than when somebody is in a way about something and they come to a calibration, and 10 to 20 minutes later, when they find alignment and I have them look at the exact same situation with nothing else changing, they're like, all is well, nothing's gone wrong. I feel an amazing love for them. I can see the love that's there for me. And so if you're calling a friend and venting, you're not actually going to get to that higher perspective that allows you to release the resistance and attachment to something, so you can allow that relationship to evolve into what's wanted. That's what you're really wanting. First, you're wanting to feel better. You're wanting the relief, and you're thinking the only way to get relief is if this is resolved. And the only way to resolve this is if I like chew it out and think about it and mull it over and find a friend. What should I say to fix this? How should I blah, blah, blah? You're literally making the problem bigger. The other thing too is you're not doing that friend any service by bringing them in on this vibration and saying, please understand me at this vibration. For them to understand you at that vibration, they actually have to come down to the same vibration. Again, that's why when you're telling that story and they're listening, the reason why they can very easily say, oh yeah, that happened to me, is because they literally came down to that vibration that you're at. And when they're at that vibration, then all these matching stories and memories pop in their head. And now you guys are amplifying the unwanted vibration, which is, and And so that's what I would say about that. So then what can you do? Well, again, there's not going to be a blanket answer for this because it's going to be different for every person. And even for even one person, it's going to be different in any moment. But the thing is, you want to find relief. One of the things, again, I love about the Frankenpaul teachings, the communion of light, is like in any given scenario, when you find yourself in contrast, there's kind of a few things you can do. If you can catch it early, which what I mean by that, and this goes back to me talking about if you can make your priority feeling better, feeling good, and be really aware of your emotions, then you can catch contrasting feelings and thoughts earlier before the momentum has taken a stronghold. So let's say you're driving down the street and somebody cuts you off and you notice like this trigger, like, oh, and like up until that, you're like, feeling good. And you just got triggered. Oh, look, squirrel. So I know, oh, look, squirrel. Oprah talks about this. Abraham talks about it. You feel that intensity of that icky feeling and you want to just distract yourself before momentum takes on. If you find yourself like agitated, oh, that asshole cut me off, and you just keep focusing. I hate it when people do that. Drivers around here, and then I'm gonna chase them down and flip them off. So like you got that agitated of frustration and you stayed on it and you're trying to like at every additional second you stay on that focused topic, feeling that intensity of that frustration, the momentum of it grows. It gets more and more. Maybe it gets up to anger. And then you might notice the whole rest of your day, like that person's an asshole. That person is mean. Now I'm being mean. And so if you can catch things earlier, again, sensitivity, being a sensitive person is a gift. It is an absolute gift. You want to be sensitive to your emotions and notice when you get triggered in any way. The sooner you can catch it, the better, the easier it is for you to go, oh, look, squirrel, and get on a different topic and let that go. Again, go ahead.
I love how Oprah said, so I was listening to a clip from Oprah, and so Oprah without an H for everyone. Oprah is channeled by a woman called Ramona Gailey. And she was like, was it really a bad day? Or was it 5 minutes that you milked the whole day?
Yeah.
Because that's actually what's happening when you have a bad day. There's this one thing.
And that you're stewing on and rolling over and talking to a friend about, right? If you could have dropped that and just got back into the present moment, all is well, and then re-engaged with your reality, right? Was it a whole bad day, or was it a moment in time that you focused on and fixated on and milked all day and stayed in a cruddy feeling vibration? So that's one thing. Oh, look, squirrel. And that doesn't work all the time. It works when you catch things earlier before law of attraction has got its momentum grip hold on it and get that. So another thing is if you find yourself in that wobbly, contrasty state and you've been there for a while, either you've been there for a while, or let's say you actually caught it early, but it is such a strong trigger. Like you're feeling good and a real strong trigger happens. It's just a quick moment in time, but it fucking takes you down because you've had a lot of past momentum with that. Mm-hmm. And like it just snaps you in it. And now you're caught in that big momentum. Oh, look, squirrel is probably very, very difficult for you. You try to do it, but you're like, it's just still, and your attention goes back to it. So that's where like taking a nap is one of the easiest things. If you're able to allow yourself to fall asleep, taking a nap is great because it gets your mind, you can't focus on it while you're sleeping. When you're sleeping, your mind is like basically turned off. So it gives you a break in that momentum. And have that intention to when you wake up to not go back to that story. Like I'm going to take a nap. I'm going to let this go. And I'm actually going to pre-pave when I wake up that I'm going to look for things that feel good, or I'm going to right away just put the spa music in my ears and take 5 minutes of conscious breathing and just find a calm place. And then it's kind of like you do a restart or a reset. Naps are really great for like resetting.
Or even crying. That's perfect because you literally release energy, like toxic energy. That's what Bashar calls it. It's just like you're releasing the toxins from the body. Anger, toxic.
Yes. So that's the thing. Like, so crying it out, I did that the other day and it felt really good. It felt
Yeah.
so good. Oftentimes
Really
crying
good.
feels so good. And I remember I was crying for like 20 minutes on something and I was like, I could just like, I've cried enough out that I feel kind of centered. I could just gather back up. But there was a moment where I was like, no, I want it. It's like when you have like a wet rag and you just want to wring it out. Look, no, I
Yeah.
just want to, I'm going to take 3 more minutes and just
Yeah.
really get the rest of that out by
Yeah.
myself. I'm,
Yeah.
like that's the thing
Yeah.
is when you're allowing yourself to move energy, you're in a container by yourself, or if you're not, you're with a guide who shares the same intention and they're just holding space for you to move the energy. The other thing to do is like if you're angry, right? Like punch a pillow or close your eyes and put your hand on your tummy and like just like rah rah rah. The thing
Yeah.
is, don't express the anger outward. You're doing it within a container to move the energy. If you express that anger like towards the person you're angry with, you're going to get a reverberation. It's going to come back to you. It's not going to close. It's not going to allow the energy to just move through you. It moves through you to somebody else and comes back to you and amplifies, right? And so moving energy is something you do with yourself in a container or like with a guide in a container. And
Yeah.
so it literally moves through you and then kind of out of your experience.
Yeah.
So that's another thing you can do. Another thing Frank and Paul, Communion of Light, talks about is the least likely option. This really only happens probably a few times in your life, but he talks about like just letting the house burn down. Like, fuck it. And I remember I did that in my life. It was actually right around the time that I discovered Abraham Hicks. And in the year and a half or 2 years leading up to my discovery, like things in my reality in my life are like falling apart and crashing down. I got a divorce. I lost my job. I was unemployed, had lots of monthly bills. My credit cards were getting maxed out. And there was like literally nothing I could do. And it just literally, I just gave up. Like, fuck
Yeah.
it. He talks about like letting the house burn down and having an
Yeah.
attitude about it. Like, yep, I'm not even going to try to fix this shit. I just
Yeah.
can't.
Yeah.
I'm gonna light a cigarette and flick it and just let that fucking house burn down. But
Yeah.
that's a rare thing. But then the other thing, again, if you have a guide that knows any techniques to help you move energy, like Victoria-Monique knows the Mallison method, probably some other techniques as well. This is my favorite way to move energy because it really within, again, sometimes as short as 10 minutes, but max usually like an hour maybe, that you can take a topic that feels like the house is fucking burning down and be guided in such a way with your eyes closed, focusing on feelings and releasing resistance to get like a full release of resistance on like a topic that you could have been hanging on that topic for literally a decade or more. And within a single calibration, you get from one end of the stick to the other, and you get
Yeah.
to look at that condition and just see the beauty of it all and the
Yeah.
goodness of you and the
Yeah.
goodness of other people. And so that's
Can we
why I
share?
love this work so much. Yeah.
Can we share the clip of this woman? Because you have some pretty amazing calibrations that you did on people that moved like years and years of trauma in just one
Yeah.
session. So I
Yes.
want to put one of these in the show notes so just people can look at. Don't say anything because it's
Yes.
just mind blowing.
It's mind blowing. And this is an example of, so it's funny. Can I give a little bit of information? Because
Yeah. Okay.
so this woman had, because I think I know which one you're talking about. And she gave me permission to share this video on my YouTube channel. 12 years of, she would label it blind rage towards these 4 people that she felt were the reason her husband died 12 years ago. She has gone to therapy, years of therapy. She's been on like antidepressants and even this one kind of antidepressant where she actually can't cry real tears. And I bring that up because it's actually fascinating. In this calibration that literally was like 20 or 22 minutes long, 12 years of blind rage, like da 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 da. 22 minutes later, she felt love and compassion for these people, love for herself. She got to hear from her transitioned husband spoke to her in this calibration when she got to an aligned place. And there was a period of, you'll see in this calibration, like we moved through some energy and she felt better. And then this other icky feeling came, and then we moved through that. And there was this period where she's like, if I could, I'm actually crying right now, but it doesn't seem like I am because my medication doesn't allow tears to come out, but I'm literally crying right now. And you can see there was this moment right before the tears where she had this particular energy and she was resisting it. Because she thought if she just allowed, this thing wanted to like cry basically. And she thought if she allowed it to cry, she'll never come out of it. She's like resisting going with the flow of what the energy wanted. And because she knew she was in a safe space with a trusted guide, she allowed it. And like that energy is what just moved and evolved into what she'd been wanting to feel all along about this topic. And she didn't know. She like in the beginning, she probably, if she knew she was going to feel unconditional love and compassion for these people, she might not have gone through this.
Yeah,
she
exactly.
wanted to feel relief. But that relief came from when she was in that place of oneness with everything and the all is wellness, and that nothing's ever gone wrong, even though there's death. Like nobody ever really dies; they just transition to another state. Yeah.
NERD, the band. NERD,
Yes.
you know, with Pharrell and Chad. NERD stands for No One Ever Really Dies.
I love that.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
That's actually what it stands for.
Oh, I did not know that. Okay, I'm going to write that down.
Yeah. And if you, so this is a little bit off topic, but it's not. If you like, Pharrell is so freaking talented. He is channeling pure source. Like everyone that's like Beyonce, Rick Rubin.
There's an interview with Rick Rubin and Pharrell that's like,
Pharrell. What? That one. Yeah, exactly. That interview I transcribed and I had like all these points. It's on my Instagram. I have like something like the 11 things that highly successful people do or think from that interview, actually.
Wow.
But that's a bit off topic, but it's not. So I want to close this amazing, I don't know, can you see what time it is now? 30 minutes?
It's 8:34 my time, so we're good.
Okay, cool. So I want to end this because I also don't want to make it too long. And if we feel like it, we could also do it again with other questions. It's actually something that just came to me, what I love to hear you speak about. So we speak a lot about vibration and energy and flowing energy. And so for me, it's super clear why, because I know how it works. Someone that is new to deliberate creation, and because we can create and have and experience an amazing life when we know the frame and the rules. And one of the rules is vibration as high as possible in a steady, as steady as possible. And it doesn't mean because bad vibes and bad days are a part of it. It's just like part of the human experience. What is it that, like, why do you want to have a high vibration? What does it do? Can you speak on that?
Well, it's so interesting about that.
Because Frank said something different, right?
Yeah, like, because I think having, like, first of all, there are no rules. Like, I think when you say there's rules, that's when it's like, then there can be resistance because the energy might be guiding you a certain way, and you're like, no, but that breaks the rules. But the thing is, you just want to allow the energy. And again, the thing I love about the teachings of Communion of Light and Paul is it's breaking down the misconception that the goal is to be as high vibration as possible. It's like you want to be in alignment with yourself. Like I like to talk more about like pure vibration. Like, you know, there's this clip of Oprah on my YouTube channel where she talks about like the acknowledgement of what I've been doing ever since finding this work and doing these practices is purifying my vibration. And what that means to me is allowing myself to live life, allowing myself to bump up against things. Contrast is good. You want to bump up against things because you want to bump up against like, oh, there must be a thought or belief here that no longer serves me, that thought or belief might have served me at one point. In fact, All of them have, because they've got me to where I am now. But at some point, some of those old thoughts and beliefs, they want to fall away, move away from you, or they want to evolve into what's the next evolution for you, which is different for me than anybody else. And so everybody has their own unique path, and everybody has their own unique expression of who they really are. And so for me and for people I work with, it's like finding again, allowing yourself to live life, bump up against contrast, be aware of that, and then allow yourself to release resistance in whatever fun and easy way. If it's not fun, like, you want this to be fun, nothing serious going on here. This is an adventure. For me, it's like the world's greatest puzzle. It's like, just growing up, I loved puzzles. I like, so it's like bump up against contrast, do a process or whatever it takes to release resistance. Find the alignment to yourself, like on that topic, get to know yourself even more, your preferences, without pushing against other people's preferences. I might have a different belief than that person, and their belief in something doesn't need to affect mine, but I can be so knowing that all is well with me, all is well with him. And then life just gets better and better and better. You discover more and more who you are, and the goodness of you and the goodness of others wherever they are. And so life just gets sweeter and sweeter and sweeter. You're less and less bothered by things. And you're also not bothered by sometimes being bothered. And that's okay too. Like, and really seeing sometimes when you get really bothered by something, again, that's okay, because that too shall pass. And when you get to the other side of it, you're going to have a beautiful gift from that contrast. And I find to get to the other side of it, you want to let go of trying to fix what you think is wrong and just get back to yourself and let the universe sort that out. You'll just learn more and more and more. There's nothing you need to do to fix anything. Everything in the universe is constantly moving, constantly evolving. You take care of yourself first, allow yourself to bump into contrast, but just when you're able to, just focus more and more on the good stuff of you, the good stuff of others, and your experience takes care of itself to match on the outside what's going on the inside.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's the pure vibration. I remember Oprah also, because I had a private session with Oprah, and she speaks to me also on the vibration. And also because you match with people that are, she specifically said, not perfect, pure, because no one is. And I thought, and that was so helpful for me, because I expect people unconsciously, I am more conscious of it now, to be perfect, more like people close to me. That I expect them to be perfect, or expected that was something of the past. And so when she said that, I was like, oh, I could let myself and them off the hook.
Yeah.
Because I could have like major expectations that I didn't even know that I had, but I definitely had, because as soon as they didn't answer the expectations, I was kind of like, okay, ciao.
Yeah.
Which is, of course, that's not how you want to do life. But so pure vibration. And also what I love about that, because it feels less like, oh, I need to be high. And that's exactly not what we want. We want to be ourselves at all times, no matter if it's high or low, whatever.
Yeah. And I'll even say, like, so it's interesting because the Gina experience you're getting from me today is like, there's a certain vibe I have. Oftentimes, people will see me, like, if you go and look like Gina Mallison podcasts, you'll see a lot of podcasts where like I'm like, like I'm just like zinging with excitement, which it's like a different vibration, and it's still a good feeling vibration. One of the funnest and juiciest vibrations that I like to be at is what people would label as giddy. Like I enjoy that giddy vibe. And it's funny because you bring up Oprah, channeled by Ramona Gailey. Like they'll talk about how Ramona, the person that channels Oprah, her preferred vibrational state is more like calm and peaceful. And I like that state too. I for sure love to feel calm and peaceful. And I really like to be up and giddy. And giddy for Ramona is not a comfortable place for her to be. She'll go there sometimes, but her comfort zone is more like this steady you know? And also that might change, you know? Oprah's a big expression of that. Like, so usually sometimes when I'm in my kind of channeling state, I'm not like a trance channel. I don't go away, but like I can get like, you know, like in so many calls and somebody shares something or like they come out of a calibration and they're feeling great. Like, I'm just like, oh my God, this is so exciting. I'm like moving around, you know? And that's really, really good to me. But allow movement. You're not really wanting to find this place and be static within it. I think that's why, like, when like you think like Abraham will say this and Oprah too about the word perfect. Perfect signifies like endedness. Like it's perfect and it's static. And really the perfection is in the movement.
Exactly.
The movement. And again, sometimes it's down the scale and that's okay. The other thing I want to say is like, no emotion is bad. Sometimes we label like, I feel good or I feel bad. It's good emotion or bad emotion, positive or negative. And it's more like, does it feel good or not good? Sometimes I like doing that. Comfortable or uncomfortable. And uncomfortable emotions are so valuable. Every emotion is valuable, but uncomfortable emotions are really valuable. I equate it to your magnificent body that's equipped with so many like fantabulous things about it. One of the fantabulous things is that you've got this nervous system and nerve endings on the tip of your fingers that if you touch a hot stove, it fucking hurts. It hurts. So you might say it feels really bad. It's a lot of pain. Well, you want to feel that pain, so you take your hand off the hot stove so you don't melt your skin. Same with negative emotions or uncomfortable emotions. Those emotions are there to serve you, to be kind of like an alarm system, to be like, hey, you're focused in a way that's not in the direction you want to go. And so sometimes what people do is when they're focused in a way and they feel a not good feeling emotion, they take that as a signal of, that's right, this is a problem. They think that negative emotion is confirming their perspective, when in reality, that negative emotion is saying your perspective is fake news. All perspectives, because the way of the universe works in law of attraction, any thought you think will prove itself to be true. It's the wacky thing. So thank God we have these emotions to let you know you're thinking a thought that will, as you keep thinking of it, you'll begin to see evidence of the truth of it. And that thought, Abraham says, a belief is just a thought you kept thinking. You've thought it long enough that you start to see evidence and you're like, no, that's true. But when that negative emotion comes up, it's letting you know it's true in the sense that it'll prove itself because that's the way the universe works. But it's not the inherent truth of like what's really true. And what's really true is how your inner being sees it. All there is pure unconditional love in this universe. And so like the further away you are from your inner being's perspective or source's perspective, the more painful that emotion feels to you. And so again, that not good feeling emotion is not an indicator to you that your thought is absolutely true. And yes, that person's a dick and they should go to jail, whatever. Like it's an indicator of like, hey, time to look, squirrel, or take a nap and chill out. Let that go and focus on something that feels better. Get back to yourself and let the universe sort that out for you.
Exactly. Don't try to fix it. Just work on the inner game.
Yeah.
Because that's also another thing that became like, I already knew, like, this is not my first, I don't know, there's an expression for it. It's not my first
rodeo.
dance.
Not your first rodeo.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I've been rodeoing with the deliberate creation for a while, and my understanding becomes clearer as I go. And it's just like I'm at the point now that what I understand is just be without judgment, be all the facets and enjoy. Do not try to fix things. Do not try to get things. Just have fun. Have fun. Be.
Chill out.
Exactly. Nothing serious going on here. And then
Yeah.
everything just pops into place. And of course, I take inspired action here and there, but mostly
Yeah.
I'm just having fun. And then things come to me, things and people
Hmm.
and opportunities and whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, so, dear Gina, this was it for now.
Yeah. So fun.
Yay. Lovely. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah.